Hi everybody, this is part 2 of my Tesla 4Q 2024 financial review. In part 1 we discussed high level the key metrics, and in this part 2 we dive for the first time into sort of the details of the various different metrics. So let's start at the top of the financial statement. Here you can see on the right side the income statement of Tesla, the key items, and the red box always marks where we are in Tesla's income statement or balance sheet or what have you, depending on what we are discussing. Sometimes there is not a direct line item in the financial statement, and when you see a marker, it refers to the item that is most directly affected by whatever we discuss. So with the sequential decline in automotive revenue, in 4Q, the total revenue in 2024, full year 2024, left Tesla with 97.7 billion, and that's an increase year on year of plus 9.9%. There is one little note that I'd like to point out to you is there was this Elon Musk interview on Lex Fridman in early August 2024. In that interview, Elon stated confidently, because he didn't use any qualifiers, he didn't say, oh, maybe, perhaps, if things go well, etc., blah, blah. No, he said confidently Tesla would exceed 100 billion in revenue in 2024. So that tells you a few interesting things. One, in the interim after August 2024 and year end, obviously things happened that Elon didn't have fully on the radar. When I look at his later 4Q delivery guidance, which pointed to at least 515,000 deliveries, and Tesla delivered 496,000, that tells me that the competition significantly intensified in the fourth quarter, especially in the later half of the fourth quarter, which forced Tesla to globally unlock ever more discounts. Discounts include not only direct price cuts, but also subsidized financing and leasing rates and various other campaigns Tesla launched. So this is just something for investors to keep in mind. Elon, in his position, has obviously access to enormous amounts of data and also has an experience advantage. He has been running a global automotive company for, at this point, over 20 years. So his wealth of knowledge and data access cannot be underestimated. However, these things are extremely difficult to forecast. So investors should keep in mind that even a person as well positioned as Elon, as smart as Elon, sometimes can be a little off. All things considered, given how far out some of his predictions are, he's quite accurate. But in the short term, he might be off. That's something to consider, because economic changes, etc., and market conditions changes are quite unpredictable, even to highly experienced and people like Elon. So that's just something important to keep in mind. On this next chart, we look at automotive revenue or automotive sales, excluding the leasing and credits business. The reason why it's useful to look at the sales revenue excluding leasing is leasing sales are accounted for in a very different way to outright sales, and this creates kind of noise in the data. So if you analyze Tesla's sales data, you want to look at auto sales excluding leasing and analyze leasing sales separately, which we'll be doing later in this review. And then also it's important to exclude credits. Credits refers to emissions credits Tesla earns by selling non-polluting vehicles. And the big debate right now is whether Tesla might lose these credits in the United States. However, I'd like to point out Tesla earns credits not only from the United States, but also from most countries in Europe, and also in China and various other countries throughout the world. So these emission credits are quite widespread, and therefore even if credits in the United States would be fully removed, this, by my rough estimates, would probably take off around about 1/3 of credit sales. So we can see that these outright automotive sales came down almost 10% year on year. So in the fourth quarter of 2023, Tesla generated 20.6 billion, and this number came down to 18.7 billion. And then sequentially, that meant that Tesla lost about 1% in pure auto sales, despite all-time high deliveries record, and that left the year with 72 billion in pure auto sales, excluding leasing and credits. And this implies an almost 8% decrease year on year on a full year basis. On this chart, we look at the same numbers, but with one added dimension. We split it out by model, and you can see that the 3 and Y product line generate the vast majority of automotive sales, as you would expect. The S and X product line, they become increasingly a, for lack of other word, non-needle mover, and I estimate that in the fourth quarter, sales revenue of that product line dropped to a long-term low of just 0.4 billion. This would be the lowest revenue number ever since the new S and X launched. This is probably partially explained by Cybertruck sales, a much more modern platform, cannibalizing a meaningful amount of S and X sales in the S and X's by far largest market, which is the United States. And when you look closely at the main product line 3 and Y, you can see that revenue generation, because of changes in pricing, discounts, etc., stayed for the last 9 months almost flat, so just around $60.6 to $60.8 billion. When you look at 1Q, you need to keep in mind that 1Q is seasonally the by far weakest quarter, so that is not that relevant in terms of assessing this trend. And then when you compare to 2023, thanks to much higher pricing, despite basically same volume, revenue was significantly higher, and you can see it's down here in the full year number, which is 72 billion in 2024, and it was 79 billion in 2023. So on this slide, we go to sort of the heart of the matter, and you can see average selling price development of Tesla's vehicles, and you can see post 2Q 2022, with only one exception, which was 4Q 2022, we have seen a consistent decrease in average selling prices. And the average selling price decrease, and you see it up here in the first row. Here you have the absolute, so in dollar amounts, sequential, so quarter on quarter changes in average selling prices. And you can see that the average selling price dropped by $2,100 in the fourth quarter of 2024. And when you look at this time series, this is the biggest drop ever since we saw these massive price cuts in the first quarter of 2023. And this brought down Tesla's average selling price for the first time ever below the $40,000 mark, which is quite remarkable given that Tesla's ASP is inflated by premium vehicle sales such as the Cybertruck, of course, and to a much smaller degree now the S and X product line. The primary drivers obviously were price reductions via discounts, via leasing. I take this back, not leasing, because leasing is not included in this calculation, because you cannot calculate the average selling price including leasing. I'll get to later. But this also reflects the increasing volume contribution of lower average selling price Chinese sales, and this also has a dilutive effect on the global average that is shown on this chart. So, and with this, the video is already quite long. I end this part 2, and then in part 3 we will dive deeper into average selling prices per vehicle. So see you in the next one. Bye.